Hannah is one of the smartest, most ambitious people I know. By the time she was 40, she had been an actress, a social media manager, and a commercial director, a project manager, and a realtor. She really thrives in the rush of starting new things. They represent exciting possibilities and big ideas. She just loves the thrill of it all. But as soon as things get challenging, when she hits that inevitable learning curve or there's a setback or progress is too slow, stress kicks in and she moves on to the next thing. Hannah tells herself that she just hasn't found the right fit yet, but there is a pattern and it's really clear. She never gives herself the time to truly blossom. Now, Hannah's not alone. Many of us, especially those who are navigating career pivots, get caught in the tension between sprouting and blossoming. Sprouting is that exciting but fragile stage of growth. It's when you're laying the groundwork, starting something new, planting seeds for the future. But it's not the same as blossoming. Blossoming is when you've taken root and you're fully grown into your potential and you are thriving. Now, what stops us is stress. Stress keeps a lot of people stuck in that sprouting stage. And instead of moving toward fulfillment, they're constantly uprooting, starting over and over and over again. And they're not actually giving themselves the chance to stabilize and actually flourish. So in today's video, I'm going to explain how people can get stuck in sprouting and how to get blooming. And I also have a special invitation for you at the end. I'm Laverne McKinnon, and welcome to this video. I'm a certified coach and a grief recovery specialist, and I love to help ambitious professionals navigate career transitions. So whether you're moving up or you're pivoting or rebuilding after a setback, I am here to help. A career pivot requires invention, but it can also create a cycle of never quite feeling established. So if you're in the middle of a transition, you might feel like you're always proving yourself and that every move means rebuilding credibility and confidence from scratch. Not a fun experience. You may also feel like you're constantly chasing new opportunities instead of deepening existing ones. So this might look like you're jumping from one training or a certification or side project to the next, constantly looking for, is this it? And a lot of people I know struggle with imposter syndrome. And it makes sense. The newness of the pivot makes you feel like you're a beginner, even if you bring years of transferable skills. Now, this comes from a survival mindset. When stress is high, we focus on what's urgent, like getting the bills paid, which is completely important and absolutely a priority, finding the next gig, making the next connection, learning a new skill, instead of tending to what we've already planted. So what happens is that there's a feeling of always being in transition, but never quite arriving. Chronic stress, it really does make it hard to shift from surviving to thriving. And here's why. Stress narrows your focus. When you are overwhelmed, you can only see the immediate tasks, landing a job, building your network, not the long-term vision of what you're actually building. Stress fuels fear of failure. Taking that next step, it can feel risky, so you keep dabbling instead of rooting yourself in the new identity. And then, I don't need to tell you this, stress leads to burnout and restlessness. That constant pressure to catch up, it keeps you in motion, but it prevents deep growth. So imagine someone pivoting into consulting. They're going to spend months taking courses, revamping their resume, and reaching out to contacts. But instead of committing to their new business, they get nervous about how things are taking a really long time. And that slow pace of growth, it's creating like a kind of agitation. And so they wind up taking a part-time job in their old industry. So the pivot keeps stalling, not because they lack skill or ambition, but because the stress keeps pulling them back into short-term fixes. So I'm going to talk you through 5 strategies to move from uprooting to blossoming. The first is differentiating between discovery and stress-driven uprooting. The second is to replace the need for immediate results with a long-term investment. Focus on rooting, define what blossoming looks like for you, and slowing down to grow. So our first strategy, if you're pivoting careers and you're feeling stuck in sprouting mode, the key actually isn't to push harder, it's to shift how you approach the growth. So not every pivot or change means you're running from stress. Sometimes you're in a genuine discovery phase. You're exploring different possibilities before committing to one path. The key is to know the difference. So a couple questions to help you figure this out. Ask yourself, am I exploring out of curiosity or escaping because I feel overwhelmed? Am I learning and experimenting with intention, or am I avoiding commitment because I fear failure? Am I making progress in one direction, even if it's at a snail's pace, or am I constantly resetting without real momentum? Here's the thing. Healthy discovery has structure. It allows for exploration, but it also prioritizes learning and gradual commitment. So stress-driven uprooting, on the other hand, it feels frantic, it feels reactionary, and it is exhausting. If you're in a discovery phase, a trick that I use is to set time-bound experiments to explore different paths without constantly starting over. So you might try out a new field for 6 months and evaluate what you're learning before making another change. The key is to commit to whatever that time frame is and then to evaluate. Then take on a small project in your new industry before fully pivoting. And this one really applies mostly to me. I don't know if it applies to you, but commit to a no distractions rule for a set period. So you're only focusing on what you're currently building. I have shiny object syndrome, so I constantly get distracted by, ooh, that looks really cool and exciting and new. So I have to give myself this no new distractions rule so I can give myself an opportunity to let things really root to see if I really want to continue to invest in them. Stress often comes from impatience, the pressure to see results now. But sustainable career shifts, like any major transition, they take time. Instead of viewing stress as a sign that things aren't working fast enough, look at it as a natural part of building something meaningful. So when you feel stress, you can say, oh, right, that's normal, and then slow down. So let me give you an example. If you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every few days to check if it's growing. You water it, you give it sunlight, and you trust the process. The same applies to a career pivot or a new venture. So ask yourself a couple questions. If I stick with this for 6 more months, what might change? Am I truly at a dead end or just at that frustrating, yucky middle phase before things start clicking? We call that the messy middle. What small signs of progress am I overlooking because I'm expecting overnight transformation? Small signs, that's consistency over perfection. Wow, that is gold. So here's an action that you can take. Instead of focusing on fast wins, track your consistent efforts. Notice the skills that you're developing, the connections that you're making, and the lessons that you're learning. Really acknowledge yourself so you can recognize forward movement, even if it's not delivering immediate results for you. Okay. Growth means staying with what you've started long enough to see results. Instead of taking another course, apply what you've already learned. Instead of seeking a new opportunity, invest in the one you already have. Instead of worrying about being an outsider in your new field, embrace the expertise that you do bring. Okay, blossoming isn't about reaching some external milestone. It's about feeling aligned and grounded in your new career path. This is just a fancy way to say define success on your own terms as opposed to other people's. So you might ask yourself, what does thriving look like for me? If I stop chasing the next thing, what could I build with what I already have? Am I giving myself enough time to truly transition before deciding what isn't working? Hard truth, pivots take time. Rushing the process or expecting overnight success is only going to keep you in uprooting mode, and then you're never actually going to get to that place where you can put down roots and then really blossom and grow. So trust that small, consistent efforts lead to bigger transformations, and give yourself permission to not be an expert yet. Growth happens through doing, not just preparing. Okay, coming back to Hannah, her career pivots weren't the problem. The issue was that she wasn't giving herself the chance to stabilize in any of them because she was so scared of making the wrong decision or failing. When we took time for her to understand her life purpose, what was truly important to her, also known as her values, and what would trigger negative self-talk that caused her to bolt their current job, things really transformed. She realized that her life purpose is to bring ideas to life by blending creative vision with strategy. And she'd been doing that in all of her roles: actress, social media manager, commercial director, project manager, realtor. But then when we started to break it down, we saw how her values of security and stability, they were being stepped on through acting and directing and so those occupations weren't a fit. They didn't have security and stability. She never knew when the next audition or directing opportunity was going to come along. Hannah also values being with people, and the particular jobs that she had as a social media and project manager, they were really isolating. She worked fully remote and she just didn't have any interaction with people. So when we slowed down and she thought about what she loved about being a realtor, she realized that that was the career that she really wanted to blossom in because it honored her values and her life purpose. And so she allowed herself to grow into that work. If you feel like you're constantly starting over, ask yourself, am I truly exploring or am I avoiding the discomfort of growth? Stress can truly trick us into believing that a pivot is necessary when in reality, we may just need to stay the course. Blossoming requires grounding. It means giving yourself time to grow into your work, trusting the process even when the progress feels slow, and defining success in a way that aligns with your purpose and your values. Hannah's transformation, it didn't come from finding something new, but from recognizing where she could truly take root. Your breakthrough might not come from another pivot. It might come from allowing yourself to stay and thrive. Before you go, I have an invitation. If stress keeps pulling you back to square one, you might be caught in survival mode rather than moving toward thriving. So if this sounds familiar, I am inviting you to the Career Grief Compass 5-part workshop series. This is an interactive series and it's designed to help you break free from the cycle of uprooting, and it's going to help you process any hidden grief that comes with career transition and help you build something that lasts. So every session, it blends reflection, structured strategies, and live discussion so you're not navigating this alone. Over 5 live Zoom sessions, and there will be replays, we're going to move through the emotional and practical sides of career grief. So why grief needs ritual, even in your professional life, and how it helps us mark transitions that you may not have known were coming or planned for. We're going to explore creative, symbolic ways to honor and release what you've lost so you're not carrying it. And this one really lights me up because how grief impacts the brain, this is inspired by the work that's been done by Mary Frances O'Connor and the book that she wrote, The Grieving Brain. And it's how small rituals and reflection can rewire us towards wholeness. And of course, I'm big on tools and resources. So there's some tools that I'm going to introduce to help you reframe your career setback story and find a meaning to what happened that actually supports you in moving forward without rushing so quickly to silver linings. I don't like toxic positivity, but this step is really about how to support you and rewrite the meaning that you've created so that it's actually helpful, not hurtful. And then finally, I love action. So an action plan to move you forward that's really not about the sense of false urgency, but it's rooted in agency so that you are coming from a place of empowerment and feeling empowered. So ultimately, you're going to leave this workshop series with language for what you've been feeling, practices to ease that weight, and clarity about how to start writing your next chapter. The workshops are going to begin on Tuesday, April 29th, and they're going to run every other Tuesday through June 17th. And the series is exclusive and it's free for Moonshot Mentor paid Substack subscribers. So a subscription with me on Substack is $5 per month and $50 or $50 per year. And to be completely transparent, your subscription helps me continue offering workshops while keeping them affordable for everybody. And it ensures that my work financially supports and sustains me. But here's the thing. If you're having cash flow challenges and you still want to attend, just DM me. I've got you, no questions asked. I would be remiss if I didn't highlight a few things that paid Moonshot Mentor subscribers receive. So you'll get co-working sessions twice a month to stay accountable and make progress on your goals, guided meditations, and a really awesome supportive community and journal prompts. Okay, that is it for today. Visit me at moonshotmentor.com, where you can find all of my links to social. And if you're curious about how to work with me one-on-one, there's lots of information there. And I've also got other groups and workshops and things as well that you can learn about. A super big thank you to Lynn Chen for the video editing. You can find her on social at Ms. Lynn Chen. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. And until next week, I am wishing you all of the courage to find the possibilities that really do exist for you in your life.